Kenna Mushiti Morunga bashimane setlogolo sa bakone ba ntshidi kgolo Kenna Mushidi Morunga bashimane setlogolo sa baroka ba metsi ya pula Re jwa re le kae Re Limpopo Re Limpopo ga bo Sekhukhune Re Limpopo ga bo Maunatlala Re Limpopo ga Mojaji Monesha pula Pula ena maAfrika Borwa ke rena ba ke tšatši la rena la gore thakgale ke tšatši la rena gore ba re tsebe gore bo mang ge re ntšha rena bobotse ba rena tša rena diaparo tše re reng nna ke Motswana se reng nna ke Mopedi nna ke Movenda nda ke re ba gešo thobela dumelang re a lotšha nda a se lotšheng go ye more good morning ka mokana lena e tlang. This is our Heritage Day. Welcome to 2020 Cultural Heritage Day, where we celebrate all our cultures. And now, to lead us in, Molongona, Texting, Facebook, radio, television, YouTube, Kereteleja, Sefila Sarna Sama Afrika Borwa, our national anthem, delivered by the Shkwambani Living Rocks performers from Limpopo.
Sueño, o se involucra. live and strive for freedom in South Africa, our land.
Rena batho ba Afrika Borwa
siyakubona kungabi khona ubulungiswa esikhatsini lesecile.
Sibothulela umnqwazi abo baye bevuka ubunzima ukuze kubekho ubulungisa nenkululeko elizweni lethu.
Re tlotla ba ileng ba sebeletsa go aha go ntshetsa pele naga ya rona.
Futhi sikholelwa ukuthi iningizimu Afrika ingeyabo bonke abahlala kuyo. Sibumbene nakuba singafani.
Zwenezwo nga kha vhaimeleli vho khethiwaho zwavhuḓi ri khou ṱanganedza ino ndayotewa sa wone mulayo muhulusa wa Republiek.
Die verdeeldheid van die verlede te heel en 'n samelewing gegrond op demokratiese waardes, maatskaplike geregtigheid en basiese menseregte te skep.
Tlhome metheo ya demokrasi le setšhaba se se golesegilego moo puso e theilego ka thato ya batho ebile moagi mongwe le mongwe a sireleditswe ka go lekana ke molao.
Improve the quality of life of all citizens and free the potential of each person.
Begodu nokwakha iSewula Afrika ebumbeneko nentando yeningi ezokukhona ukuthatha indawo yayo njengenaga ezijameleko emndenini wenchabatshaba.
Ngamana uThixo angabakhusela abantu bakowethu. Nkosi
Afrika.
Morena,
God save South Africa.
God bless South Africa.
Afrika.
Re ipela ka maleme a rena, re ipela ka dipolelo tša rena. We are truly proud of our indigenous languages. This year's theme for Heritage Month is celebrating living human treasures. Badimo ba rena ba ba phelang. Here we are talking about custodians of our indigenous knowledge, expressions, customs, traditions, and skills that we as South Africans regard as part of our heritage. I am speaking of none other than Mama Noria Mabasa, Dr. Esther Mahlangu, Mama Madosine Latozi, and Mama Ouma Katrina Esau, whose autobiographies were commissioned by Department of Sport, Arts and Culture. Ntombi Yamatsonga delivers an ode to our living human treasures. Are.
Intombi ya Mutsonga le wa xivambula makhutla wa madafula rela tsundzuka n'wana hi ku heta akuyo n'wananga vito Masingita. Allow me to share my piece of writing and narrate a poem to you about our greatest heroines who preserve our culture and heritage with dignity and determination, who embrace our being in the absence of fear, shame, and agitation. I am talking about heroines with hearts ready to serve with pride and gratification. Tinenankazi exikarhi tinenankazi vavasati xidzi vavasati va makoya vavasati lava khomaka laha ku hisaka va hisekela ndhavuko weru hambiloko vutomi byi hundzulela ndhavuko weriwa wu rhangisa emahlweni va havashela vuswikoti bya vona. Today I stand in awe and salute you, Ouma Katrina Esau, the cream, the vessel of the Khoisan. I am talking about a woman of power, integrity, knowledge, great wisdom, a phenomenal kind of a woman. I pay my full respect to you, Gogo Madosine, our greatest performer and composer of isiXhosa music. Oh, we Gogo, siyazinga ngawe, wanga umoya wakho ungaphila ixesha elide. Hey, ngingakhohlwa kanjani inkanyezi ephuma eMpumalanga. Nivulabula hibona Gogo Esther Mahlangu, the queen of paint, brush, and geometric patterns that adorns the walls and other buildings. Where Gogo, ilifa lakho lizophila isikhathi eside. Ndiri eka wena Mabasa, wena koka wa hina Nuria Mabasa, wena mudi wa humba, wa shinyorisha humba, shokangetela erijeni, ndiri nzakulosa. I celebrate your being, your courage and character, your passion and compassion. Hile siluba, misinuwa mahanya. Lokari mina ntombi ya Mutsonga, ndiri timihlubulela shihuku, ndibamandla ndibuyelela, ndiri nzamilosa. Halala tinenankazi, halala.
Halala Limpopo Province, also known as the melting pot of South Africa's indigenous cultures, rich in natural beauty, culture, and wildlife. It's also home to the Mapungubwe cultural landscape, one of the country's 7 World Heritage Sites. To deliver messages of support for Heritage Day, please welcome Premier of Limpopo, Mr. C. Matabata, followed by Chairperson of National House of Traditional Leaders, Inkosi S.E. Mahlangu. Thokozani.
Program Director of this virtual celebration of our National Heritage Day, our President, His Excellency Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, Chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, the people of South Africa as a whole, I greet you from this beautiful and majestic Limpopo province. I greet you from the home of the ancient civilization, a home of multilingualism, and certainly a home of rich diversity of cultural heritage. As Limpopo, we are proud to host this important virtual celebration of our National Heritage Day. As you know, Limpopo is a home of the great Mapungubwe, South Africa's first city of gold that flourished in the 12th century. We are also home of another great ancient kingdom, the Thulamela Kingdom. We are also proud home of the Makapans Valley, which is often regarded as a sister to the cradle of humankind. Our rich heritage includes the majestic Makhabeng Plateau, which borders the equally impressive Louwberg mountain range. Makhabeng Plateau is famous for its ancient rock art painting, dating back to the first African ancestors to ever inhabit and walk on the African soil. We are happy to celebrate this important day under the theme that says, celebrating South Africa's human treasure. We are indeed committed to this hallowed task of building our country from the inherited legacy of divisions, marginalization, and exclusion. We are also committed to the rebuilding the socio-economic fiber of our country after it was ravaged by the COVID-19 pandemic. In this regard, we are committed to working with stakeholders to use our diverse heritage offering to reignite our economy, whose growth has been undermined by the COVID-19. Our theme also speaks to the urgency of ending the persisting violence against women and children in this country. We invite our living human treasures to continue working with us in championing the care of women and children in our communities. We want to say in one loud voice that gender-based violence is not our heritage. On the contrary, it is peace, solidarity, and the spirit of common brotherhood that forms part of our collective and shared heritage. As South Africans and as Africans, we are a people whose actions are always guided by the spirit of Motho Ubuntu. As we say in this part of the country, Motho ke motho ka batho. Those who act outside these societal norms should be isolated by society and be met with the heavy hand of the law. There should be no place for abusers in our society. I thank you.
Langa elihle nelimnandi lamagugu namasiko eSouth Africa. Indlu yobuholi bendabuko kuzwe lonke, ijamele ubukhosi bonke igidinga leli langa ngokuhlonipha nokuzikhakhazisa ngabomma bomme who are our living heritage in preserving our traditions and customs through art, music, and poetry, and passing on to the next generation the beautiful traditional attire of our different traditional communities. We've seen Bomme, Dr. Esther Mahlangu, and Dr. Nothembi Mkhwebane and others who have put our country on the map through promoting our art and culture. We also celebrate other important traditional leaders that we believe are our living heritage, such as Inkosi Mangosuthu Buthelezi, Kgoshi Suping, Inkosi Mathanzima, and many others who continue to fight for the preservation of our institution and culture. I urge all South Africans to take pride in our heritage, not only in the month of September, but throughout the year, in our everyday interactions. We must promote our customs, languages, and cuisine, and also use this heritage for our economic development. We must protect our diverse traditional identities, whilst also using the same to promote social cohesion and nation building. As Amakosi and our traditional communities, we live our heritage every day. Let us celebrate our heritage and continue to salute our mothers, as our culture and Ubuntu dictate us to respect them, not the femicide and gender-based violence that has become the norm. Let us use our cultural heritage to fight gender-based violence. Let us join hands in fighting this pandemic. Let us also continue to observe all protocols to defeat the COVID-19 pandemic. Once more, sithi langelihle lamagugu namasiko eSouth Africa. My tradition, my pride.
Mina ngilaba kutshenayo. Hey, setso, maitso, ga se diaparo fela. Ga se leleme fela. Setso ke mmino, ke metshameko, ke tsotlhe tse re di dirang. Ke bao ipone ema mo mogai le wena re go bone. Ha!
Golekani, it's enough. Kwanele. Golekani, it's enough. Kwanele. Golekani banna ba khoro ba kwele basadi tja karolo ngwana wa thari re fedishe ntwa khatlhanong le polao ya basadi taba ye ga se papadi morwa. Men, hear me out. Let's unite and fight. Men to men, let's take a stand and protect our mothers, our sisters and daughters, because kwanele, it's enough. Golekani. Stop demanding respect in the name of culture. Teach your sons how to protect your daughters. Get out of that shell and confront your male friends to take a stand. United, we can put an end to gender-based violence and femicide and live in a better world. Because kwanele, it's enough. Golekani. I salute the real men not by virtue of their six-pack, but when I see them, I still call them Sir, Mr. or Menier. Not those who act like maniacs and douchebags by laying a hand on a very beautiful princess. Instead of making a lips and thigh sweat, you perform your low standard and underestimated acts and make an eye sweat. As a matter of fact, man, let me tell you, you are weak and weak. Punch me in the face and let's see if it's gonna make you feel more of a man compared to the bruises and the scars you left on the neck. If I was the judge, I would sentence you twice your life. Let them assassinate you, hang you on the wall, and let you rot. Should leave you like bomb from generation, but Bob Marley's legacy will live from generations to generations because it's a true reflection of a real man. Don't be fooled by the traditional and cultural, generally acclimatized theories and ideologies that men are dominant. If it's so, why then current statistics prevail that more and more women are becoming prominent? Isn't that pure and clear evidence that you should embrace and acknowledge their existence? You moron, go back to your drawing board and conceptualize on the term respect and make an impact and become a real man. Because kwanele, it's enough. Golekani.
The Department of Sport, Arts and Culture has a vision to promote an active, winning, creative, and socially cohesive nation. To deliver the opening remarks and introduction to our president, please welcome Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture, Mr. Nathi Mthethwa.
The Program Director, His Excellency President Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa. Premier Mathabata, Premier of Limpopo Province, our host province this year. Chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, Inkosi Mahlangu, fellow compatriots. It gives me pleasure to welcome you to this year's virtual celebration of the National Heritage Day. At the beginning of September, we launched Heritage Month under the theme celebrating South Africa's living human treasures. Heritage Day is part of our National Days program, and as government, we look to the National Days program to provide us with some foothold in giving our social cohesion and nation-building project further traction. That is, we look to the National Days program in general, and the Heritage Day in particular, to provide a platform onto which South Africans across racial, ideological, cultural, and religious divide converge in a show of unity and human solidarity. In other words, we look to National Heritage Day as one of the levers to bridge existing divisions in our society. In respect of heritage, what then are we talking about when we talk heritage? In summary, heritage consists of our museums, monuments, heritage sites and resources, geographical place names, heraldry, national symbols, archives, public records, libraries, and information centers. In essence, these are symbolic markers or identifiers of who we are, our collective histories and national identity, in fact, our collective sense of self as a people. Celebrating heritage intimates a particular state of love, self-affirmation, and consciousness. Consciousness is a finite marker of our humanity and existence. And speaking of consciousness, and mindful that we are celebrating living human treasures this year, I'm reminded of what one of Africa's greatest intellectual experts, who once intimated us, and I quote, "Consciousness distinguishes humans from the rest of nature. In humans, death is marked by the end of consciousness. In that sense, all humans, to the extent that they are human, have a consciousness," close quote. And as we seek to celebrate our heritage, our culture, and our collective sense of self, Ngugi wa Thiong'o further affirms his position on the centrality of consciousness in deciphering cultural subjugation. In the same lecture, Ngugi counsels us as follows, and I quote, "Economic and political subjugation are obvious, for you cannot convince a person who has lost his land to forget the lost, a person who goes hungry to forget his hunger, and a person who bears the whiplashes of an unjust system to forget the pain. But cultural subjugation is more dangerous because it is more subtle and its effects long-lasting. Moreover, it can make a person who has lost his land, who feels the pangs of hunger, who carries flagellated flesh, to look at those experiences differently. I'm thrilled that in this country, Ngugi's counsel did not fall on deaf ears. A mere look at a few that we have opted to celebrate affirms strongly this observation. As has been said, this month we celebrate all the living human treasures across the length and breadth of the country, who continue to inspire us, fill us with pride, and affirm our collective sense of self. I therefore wish to make this call on this day for all of us to identify, honor, and celebrate living human treasures from within our communities who are a repository of knowledge across an array of human endeavors. At a national level, I'm pleased to announce that we have selected 3 women of substance as flag bearers of our indigenous knowledge systems. These are women who have distinguished themselves in their chosen fields of occupation, putting South Africa on the map on a global stage. It is fitting on this Heritage Day, that we pay tribute to them whilst they are still alive. And these are Dr. Esther Mahlangu, Mama Madosine Latozi, and Ouma Katrina Esau. This year's Heritage Celebration takes place within the context of a global pandemic that has ravaged lives and put our people under strain. Just as COVID-19 came with its untold suffering to many, it has also certainly presented us with opportunities. We have, for example, noted how many retreated to tried and tested therapeutics in handling COVID-19 outside of the usual Western medicine. And in the context of celebrating Heritage Day, this trend is an encouraging sign and may go a long way in instilling a sense of national pride. As customary and appropriate, the President of the Republic, who needs no introduction to any one of us, will now address as we celebrate Heritage Day. Mr. President, I now have the pleasure to invite you to the podium to address the nation. Thank you for your attention.
Fellow South Africans, dumelang, molweni, sanbonani, goeiedag, thobela, lotshani, dimasiari, inhlekani. Today we celebrate the unique and diverse heritage of this place we call home, Mzansi Africa, Africa Burwa, Africa Chipembe, Africa Dzonga, South Africa. Heritage Day is a time to appreciate the many facets of our cultures, customs, and traditions. It is the time when we put them on display to appreciate and celebrate and share our cultures, traditions with others. We are the nation of the Maskandi, Malay choral music, and Soki Treffers, but also of Amapiano. We are the nation that is taking the world by storm with the hashtag Jerusalem Challenge, as young and old in many countries around the world, in France, in the UK, in Jamaica, in Angola, even in Palestine, East Jerusalem itself, are getting in on the craze of this Jerusalem song and dance. We're a nation of 11 official languages that also celebrates other languages commonly used by various communities in South Africa, including German, Greek, Gujarati, Hindi, Portuguese, Tamil, Telugu, and Urdu. We are a nation that steadfastly protects our other languages, Ngqu, Nama, isiHlubi, Kilebedu, and other indigenous languages facing extinction. Heritage is a source of identity and cohesion for our nation. It makes us who we are. Heritage shapes and molds us and gives us a sense of belonging. It is the inheritance passed down from generation to generation, linking the present to the past. Heritage does not only find expression in our dress, our rituals, our food, our music, art, and language. It also finds expression in our natural world. South Africa is the third most mega biodiverse country in the world, with abundant fauna and flora. This is what makes South Africa the most beautiful country in the world. We are home to the most beautiful sites dating back to antiquity, opening a window into the lives of the earliest ancestors of humankind. Our indigenous knowledge systems, preserved by our elders and traditional healers, are a vital part of our heritage. Long before the advent of modern medicine, our ancestors used the herbs and plants that are so abundant here to heal, to give strength, and for sustenance. This year's Heritage Day is taking place in the shadow of the COVID-19 pandemic. This pandemic has taken a toll on human life, on communities, and on our economy. In this time of the pandemic, we have seen the knowledge of traditional medicinal plants increase. Inasmuch as we join the international community in the search for diagnostics and therapeutics and a vaccine, we are also looking at the real and important contribution indigenous knowledge systems, particularly traditional medicine, can play in improving the health outcomes of our people. In Heritage Month, we honor those who work so hard to preserve all aspects of our traditional and modern heritage. We pay tribute to the spirited defenders of our heritage that we have sadly lost this year. We've lost Ahmad Dango and Elsa Joubert, two celebrated authors whose works gave expression to the human condition under apartheid. We've had to bid farewell to the musical giant, the founder of Ladysmith Black Mambazo, and the father of Istratamia, Ubabu Joseph Shabalala. We've lost the legendary photographer, Jürgen Skaderberg. We've also mourned the passing of Ouma Katrina Esau, one of the only remaining speakers of the endangered Ngqu language. We pay tribute to them all, for in their own unique way, they have contributed to preserving our past, but also to defending the struggles of the past. It is because of them and many like them that we are today able to celebrate where we have come from. Yet as there are those who have passed from this life, we have our human living treasures, our repositories of knowledge, customs, and traditions. This Heritage Month is dedicated to Dr. Esther Mahlangu, Mama Madosine Latozi Mahlangu, and Mama Ouma Katrina Esau. Dr. Mahlangu's paintings, inspired by Ndebele design, are on display in more than a dozen countries around the world, and her work has won numerous awards. Mama Madosine, the queen of Pondoland music, is the greatest living musician who can play the indigenous bow instruments. Mama Katrina Esau is the champion of the culture of the San people and is one of the 2 last remaining speakers of the Ngu language. Over the years, she has single-handedly worked to keep the language alive by running a school for young people. As part of Heritage Month, we have launched 3 books that acknowledge the efforts of these great women. Throughout this month, we will be promoting greater awareness of their work, especially among young people. We will also promote the work of the many others who are doing so much to conserve our diverse customs and cultures. Fellow South Africans, it is important that generations that come after us must fully grasp the importance of the freedom we have all achieved. The men, women, and children of tomorrow must be proud to have inherited a democracy that affirms the worth and dignity of all our citizens. So long as this country's women and children live in fear from violence, we cannot regard ourselves as totally free. So long as women are being harassed, abused, beaten, raped, and murdered, we cannot say we are a civilized society. Abusing women is not our tradition, nor is it our custom. It is not and will never be our heritage. Throughout the history of this continent, women have built and shaped our societies. They have ruled kingdoms. They have been highly respected and valued. We must put an end to this terrible shame that is tainting the image of our country. When you oppress a woman, you oppress a nation. When you beat a woman, you beat a nation. We must do away with practices that discriminate against women. With the same determination, we must stand firm against attempts to disrespect our country's women through crude forms of representation in the media, in advertising, and in popular culture. An offensive hair advertisement that was recently published shows that we still have a long way to go. The apartheid government denigrated our cultures and tried to make us ashamed of our cultures, our traditions, our languages, and our very appearances. It is disheartening to see that in democratic South Africa, there are still crude stereotypes of Black women being put on public display. The social cohesion we seek in this country means we must be mindful of the legacy of our past, whether we are businesses selling products, whether we are producers of content for television or otherwise. Building a united nation means we must be aware of and check our own acts of racism and prejudice continuously. We come from a history of prejudice and exclusion, and since democracy, we have worked to transform the heritage landscape of our country. The naming and renaming of towns and cities forms part of this, as well as the erection of new statues and monuments. Monuments glorifying our divisive past should be repositioned and relocated. This has generated controversy, with some saying we are trying to erase our history. Building a truly non-racial society means being sensitive to the lived experiences of all these countries' people. We make no apologies for this because our objective is to build a united nation. Any symbol, monument, or activity that glorifies racism, that represents our ugly past, has no place in democratic South Africa and must be repositioned and relocated. The struggle against apartheid was first and foremost aimed at ensuring that all our people should reclaim their dignity, black and white. Restoring their dignity is the preoccupation of this administration. In the wake of COVID-19 and well into the future, it will remain our singular concern. We will recover from this crisis and rebuild our lives and our economy. We will continue to strive to eradicate poverty, inequality, and underdevelopment. We will continue to uphold the rights of all our people to practice their cultures, to speak their languages, and to practice their traditions. We will continue to support every effort to preserve our common heritage, as well as those of individual communities. As much as we celebrate our customs and traditions on this day, let us also appreciate that in practicing our cultures freely and openly, and in speaking our native languages, we are reclaiming not just our heritage, but our pride and our dignity as South Africans. I thank you.
Jerusalema, ikhaya lami, ilondoloze, uhambe nami, zungangishilana. Jerusalema, ikhaya lami, ilondoloze, uhambe nami, zungangishilana. Dawo yami ayikholana, buso wami awukholana. Ilondoloze, zuhambe nami. Dawo yami ayikholana, buso wami awukholana. Ilondoloze, dawo yami ayikholana, buso wami awukholana. Ilondoloze, zuhambe nami. Dawo yami ayikholana, buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikhaya lami